But if you're chomping at the bit, there I go. I said it again. If you're chomping at the bit, hope we don't have a drinking game of chomping at the bit today, because you might be in trouble. Episode 923 of Diz Runs Radio is a quick tip episode. Today's quick tip: adjust your expectations on your return to racing. So today, talking about a return to racing, because hopefully, fingers crossed, there's some light at the end of this whole COVID-19 pandemic situation. And obviously, I'm going to preface this here. My goal today is not to get all political, right? I might step on a few toes, and I'm not going to go out of my way to do so. Also, not going to go out of my way to not. But you know, wherever you stand, whatever your thoughts, whatever your views politically, scientifically, whatever, we're getting there, right? Vaccines are coming. The Johnson & Johnson is out now. At least it's been approved. I don't know how readily available it is, but it's coming. And hopefully that means that more and more folks get vaccinated. We control variants, yada, 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 races, right? That's ultimately what we're talking about today. Races are coming. Races are coming back online. I know some races have already starting to happen. You know, I know Spartan had its first event of almost, certainly of this year, but of almost of the past year. This past weekend, at least as this gets recorded, the first weekend of February was, or the last weekend of February, not the first weekend, the last weekend of February. We're in March now, Diz. The last weekend of February was, Spartan up in Jacksonville. I had an athlete run there, and I know some folks on social media that ran it as well. So I mean, it's happening, and we've had some other races. I've had other folks that I coach that have been running races, you know, kind of starting to happen again. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, before long, it'll be more the exception than the rule that races are getting canceled or that races are shifting to virtual. Something that's still going to happen, and we'll get into some of those reasons here a little bit as we go. But the idea is that the return to racing is happening. Now, spoiler alert, I don't think that we're going to be quite ready for a normal racing season just yet. All right, I hope I'm wrong. And as I've said a couple times, I've been wrong on like every race-related prediction I've made in the last year about how COVID's going to affect things. I've been wrong about. Hopefully, I'm wrong about this one. I don't think that we'll be really back to normal, quote unquote normal, whatever normal is going to look like, probably until next year with the big city races, the big thousands and thousands and thousands of people races. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Hopefully, this fall that happens. Maybe even this summer. Maybe even this spring, although that might be a tad too optimistic. But whatever the case may be, return to racing, it's happening, right? It's coming. In some places, it already is. So, that said, like I said, it's not going to be just normal, right? Like it's not going to be 2019 feeling, vibe, situation right off the bat. So as you're maybe thinking about, maybe sign up for, maybe you're already counting down the days until your next race or this return to racing, maybe your first race in over a year, just a couple of things to keep in mind, both from my experience of running the ultra that I ran in December, and from some of the things that I've talked to some of my athletes about that have had races in the last 4 to 6 weeks. Some things to keep in mind about some differences, some things to expect that are going to be a little bit different than maybe what you would class as a normal race day situation from the past. And hopefully those normal, quote unquote, normal race day situations aren't too far away, but we're going to have to, it's going to take a little while to get there, I think. And I think that I can say that without too much, I hope I can say that without too much controversy. So anyway, a few things to think about, a few things to keep in mind if you're itching to return to racing soon, which I know a lot of folks are. The post race scenario, going to be a little different, right? Especially for I say especially for the bigger races, but it's not even just for the bigger races. I mean, even the smaller races, it's not going to be a bunch of people kind of standing around huddled tight together waiting for a race to start, right? That's just not happening right now. Even with masks on, even with smaller race fields, like we're just not at a point where it really makes sense to have a couple hundred people, a couple thousand people, 20,000 people, all fairly tightly bunched, waiting in corrals waiting for races to start. Okay? So, that's probably not going to happen. There's going to be smaller, starting waves. Instead of having a couple hundred people, a couple thousand people that start every 10 minutes, it's going to be, shorter waves spread out longer in some cases. Some cases, the race might start over the course of I've heard of some ultras where the races are starting, spread out over the course of 2 or 3 days as opposed to spread out over the course of 2 or 3 hours. Okay? So there's going to be some of that, which, not going to lie, it kind of does detract a little bit from the excitement, the atmosphere, the environment of race day, right? But is it better than not racing? I would argue it is. If you're going to say no, that's cool. Totally your opinion. You're just probably not quite ready to get back to racing yet. That's okay. Wait a little bit longer. Hopefully things get a little bit better. But we're going to have smaller start waves, depending on, again, different races, different setups. But, if there's a pre-race village or if there's a pre-race kind of hangout party situation, I know at Disney, and I know Disney races aren't back online just quite yet, but I know at Disney that they have the DJ halls all set up and it's this big whole gathering situation before you even go to the corrals, right? That's probably not happening at some of these races that are starting to come back. And you scale it up, scale it down. I know that was something for my athlete that ran at the Spartan race. She was saying how, oh man, we don't have the whole village situation. It sucks, but better than not racing, right? So, some of those expectations that you might have or some of those things that maybe, quite frankly, maybe the things that you miss the most are just gathering around a bunch of runners together, kind of shooting the breeze and meeting some new folks, might not be the situation right now. Might also have one of those situations where you have to wear your mask until the race starts or, for the first quarter of a mile or whatever. Again, if you're not cool with that, then you're not ready to race yet. All right? If you want to race, if you're really itching, as much as you might not like running in a mask, and I'm not one to say that running in a mask is great, but, you can wear it for a few minutes until the race spreads out a little bit. If that's the requirements, and we'll get into more of that in a minute, then, that might be what you have to do if you're ready to race. And a lot of those same things are going to be into effect post-race as well, right? Because the start is so staggered in a lot of cases, because of smaller waves and spread out over a longer period of time, everybody just kind of finishes and nobody's there. It's not like that same finish line feeling that you might get on race day. They may not allow much for spectators at the finish line. I know that was something for me in December. They basically sent an email that was hey, no spectators allowed. Now, there's a little bit of blurry lines in there, but basically they just didn't want a bunch of families and a bunch of everybody kind of hanging out and congregating because it wasn't safe, because it was part of the permitting issue. And again, we'll get into some more of this stuff here in a minute. But you may not just have that post-race excitement, that finish line feel that you might be craving. And if that's a big enough deal to you that it's not worth racing yet, then cool. I mean, not cool. It kind of sucks, but that's okay. That's your right. That's obviously, there's nothing wrong with still being a little bit cautious, a little bit, not wanting to take any additional risks. So maybe it's just not quite time for you to return to racing yet. But for those that are ready to chomp it at a bit, get out there, race, run, have fun as you're able to. But don't expect that big, crazy finish line situation. You might have to put your mask on pretty quick right when you finish. Hey, again, got to do what you got to do, right? Even if you're vaccinated, even if you're not worried about it, whatever, put the mask on. Okay? So the pre and post race situation going to be a little different than what you might remember from the last time you raced, if it's been a minute since you raced. In my view, better than not racing. Right? Especially for those that are really motivated, really enjoy races. You can still get most of the enjoyment, most of the excitement, most of the feeling. It's just a little different. Hopefully, will it ever get back to quote unquote normal? Hope so. I think it probably probably will. But we might still be a year or so from that until the vaccine really has a chance to get all the way around. And we can really learn more about the long-term, efficacy of the vaccine. Which, again, I'm not trying to get all crazy political and sciencey here, but just some things that we still don't know yet. We're still learning about, and more of those answers will be able to be had in 6, 8, 12 months from now. But right now, hopefully, we're getting to the point where we can at least race again. Another thing that's going to be a little bit different: aid stations, water stops, whatever you want to call it, whatever races you're running, those are going to be a little bit different, more than likely. in my opinion, your best bet when it comes to aid stations, fueling during a race, things like that, is to be as self-sufficient as possible. Now, I'm not saying you have to go all fat adapted like I've tried to go, but I'm just saying you might be better off carrying stuff with you than relying on water stops every couple of miles, or, places where you can get some gels or some chews, or, for the ultra runners, of course, the buffets that are out there on the course. Like, those probably aren't really happening right now. Each race is going to be a little bit different, right? The race that I ran in December, they made it sound like there wasn't going to be anything, and there was a few things, but they basically said, hey, bring what you need. So, hey, I'm cool with that. I'll bring what I need. They said they'd have some water and some Tailwind so you could refill bottles, but you needed to, or, whatever hydration system you have, but you needed to bring your fuel. You need to bring your stuff. So I guess all that to say, if you're eyeballing a race situation, return to racing in the next couple of few months, and you're not used to carrying stuff with you, you might want to get a handheld. You might want to get some type of, whether it's belt or vest or hydration pack or whatever, because you might need it on race day, depending on what the rules are, okay, what the situation is going to be. Maybe they'll still have some places to refill, but it won't be as many, or they won't be manned. You'll have to kind of take care of your own self. So again, you're not going to have cups and stuff like that ready. You're going to need to have something with you, especially on trail races. That's pretty common practice anyway. But even on the roads, that might be depending on locations, depending on where you are, what the regulations are. That may be how things are going to look. So keep that in mind, right? If you're chomping at the bit, returning to racing again ASAP, or as soon as the snow melts, or whatever the case might be time to grab a handheld, a vest, a belt, something, and start getting used to it. And it's not that big of a deal, but start getting used to it, because you might need that type of situation on race day. The moral of the story is you need to be flexible, right? If you're chomping at the bit, and I know I've said that apparently that's my new catchphrase today. But if you're excited, you're antsy, you can't be getting to the starting line soon enough. Odds are it's going to be a little different than what your last race experience was like. Different doesn't mean that it's worse. Difference doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just, don't be surprised when things are a little different. Okay? And again, hopefully they'll get back to quote unquote normal. Hopefully there'll be a day not too far away where we're blowing into the aid station and just, everybody just rummaging their sweaty, gross hands through the M&M container or the potato chips or whatever. No factor. Nobody thinking about it. Not quite there yet. Okay? So just do your best, adjust, and, really kind of weigh the pros and cons of, like, are these adjustments, are these changes worth, I don't know, I want to say worth the cost, but, are you okay with the changes enough to race? And if not, then just don't race yet. It's okay. If you're not ready to be around that many people, or if you're not ready to have to be self-sufficient over 26 miles or 31 miles or whatever, or 13 miles or 5K or whatever, if you're not at that point yet, for one reason or another, one extreme or the other, or one shade or the other, it's cool. It's cool. Races are coming back, and as things continue to improve, hopefully, more and more of the restrictions, more and more of the alterations will be lifted. But if you're chomping at the bit, there I go, I said it again. If you're chomping at the bit, hope we don't have a drinking game of chomping at the bit today, because you might be in trouble. But if you're that excited to get back to racing, you just got to go with the flow. You got to be okay with the adjustments right now. All right? Which leads me to my final point today, and this is where, if you've got the kids around, I'm not going to try to get too salty here, but you might want to tell them to put the earmuffs on. You might want to press pause, because there's a decent chance that I'm going to get a little bit ranty here. Okay? If you're going to race, if you're ready to return to racing, you're ready to toe the line, ready to be around the running community and other runners and things like that again, I'm not against that at all. I mean, shoot, I ran a race in December, so clearly I'm okay with the idea of being around other runners. But here's the thing. And thankfully, I didn't see this in December. I haven't heard any stories of this, but just got to get it out there. Don't be a dick, okay? Don't be that guy, don't be that gal that shows up at the race and then bitches about all of the different adjustments. The bitches about having to wear a mask for a while before the race, at the start of the race, whatever. Don't be the one that's going, how come there's not this, or how come there's not that, or how come we got to get our temperature checked, or whatever. All right, races, at least the race that I ran in December, the races I've heard about from folks I know that are running races, they've been great about communicating what the expectations are, what the rules are, what the guidelines are, what things have to happen in order for the race to happen. And remember, a lot of these, they may not be because of the folks behind the race. It's local guidelines. It's permits. It's things that they have to do in order to be allowed to run to host the race. Right? You're not entitled to run any of these races. Even if you paid your money, you're not entitled. So don't worry about that. Nobody's infringing on your freedom or denying your rights or forcing you to be in a situation that's outside of your comfort zone. All right? If you show up at the race, play by the rules. Adhere to the guidelines. Don't be a dick. Okay? If that's asking too much, stay home. If that's asking you to just look out for other people, to be a good person. And again, when I say that, I don't mean like be a good person, like you have to do X, Y, and Z. Just follow the rules, follow the guidelines. They're in there not because any race director wants to make it more difficult or more challenging or more irritating. They're there because that's what the permits, the city, the region, whatever requires. And if you're traveling to a race, be prepared to adjust to the rules, guidelines, regulations that are in place of the location where you're traveling. All right? I live in Florida, as you probably know, because I've mentioned it once or twice. To say we're lax on rules down here, be kind of an understatement. All right? So if you're traveling down here for a race and you're, like a little bit, I don't want to say a little bit more scared because that's not the right message that I'm trying to convey. But like if you're from a place where things aren't as relaxed as they are in Florida, you come down here, you still want to wear your mask? Cool. So those of us that are down here, don't be a dick about look at that sheep over there wearing. No. None of that. That's just what they're comfortable with. That's cool. That's just another runner that's out there running the race. Likewise, if you travel from Florida or from wherever, and you go someplace where things are a little bit more not relaxed, yeah, whatever. You get what I'm saying. And there's rules in place that aren't in place where you are, do the right thing. Put your mask on. Keep your distance. Let them check your temperature. Whatever they got to do. Don't be a dick. Moral of the story. Okay? Races are going to continue to come back more and more. Restrictions are hopefully going to continue to lessen. When you're ready to race, get back at it. If you're ready now, do the right thing. It's really that simple. Really that simple. At least as far as I'm concerned. Maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe I'm missing the mark. Maybe it's not that simple. I don't see how it's that complicated, though. All right? Do the right thing. Let's get back to racing. Let's get back to being in this great community of runners that we are. Let's just do it with some respect for those that are putting the things on, with an eye towards protecting everybody else. Even if you're not worried about it, hey, somebody else might be worried about it. So, wear your mask until you get out there and you're kind of out by yourself, or until you get to the point where it's allowed to take whatever it is. Stepping off the soapbox now. How excited are you to get back to racing? Are you ready to go? Are you chomping at the bit? There you go. Drink. Are you not chomping at the bit? Drink again. Let me know. Let me know where you stand when it comes to returning to racing. Ready or not ready, whether you're ready, whether you're more than ready, whether you're still holding off. There's no right or wrong answer. Everybody's got to make the right choice for them. And whenever we're ready, or whenever you're ready, hope you're able to get back out there, find a race, and get to embrace that feeling again. But until then, keep me updated. Let me know what I can do for you, how I can help you, where you stand when you're racing again. At DizRuns on Twitter, at DizRuns on Instagram. Of course, you can head over to the show notes for today's episode at DizRuns at gmail.com. Or you can head to the show notes for today. Did I just say show notes? That's an email address. Obviously, you can send me an email there. But the show notes for today, some memes, some GIFs, the whole 9 yards. DizRuns.com/923 is the link today. DizRuns.com/923. And while you're there on the website, if you need a call, schedule a call. DizRuns.com/consultation. If you just go into the header bar, it's like coaching services or something like that. It says consultation, bada boom, bada bam. You click that. And down towards the bottom, pretty easy process. Any issues, let me know, but it's pretty self-explanatory. We can get on the phone, talk things through, hopefully help you get going on your way, getting ready for that next race, whenever that might be. So, or, getting through an injury or getting through answering, whatever the questions are. That's what we'll work on for you. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this episode, hope you did. Hope it wasn't trying to be polarizing, but, sometimes you just got to say some things. Even if it's not always what everybody wants to. Hopefully, it's not what you didn't want to hear. Hopefully, it all makes sense, right? I mean, I think this stuff's pretty self-explanatory, but whatever. Returning to racing, it's coming, but we got to be a little bit flexible. We got to be willing to adjust. We got to be willing to do the things that we got to do in order to have the race. And so, do those things, and let's have some good racing in 2021. And until next time, y'all, please be well. Take good care. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk soon. All right. See you.